All right, here's the intro for the show about comics on comics with people who read comics. I can't figure out another way to say the word comics, so there's another one. I'm Mike alongside.
Daniel.
I'm Matt.
I'm Vincent. Are you
And
recording right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Been running. So this is that show that one person watches. And we got some books to talk about this week, and it was a large week of books. We're just going to jump right into it. So, retro book, Batman, number 335. We have Marv Wolfman writing, and then Irv Norvik on the art. So, Batman and Robin and Catwoman, along with King Faraday, have been captured by Ra's al Ghul and his League of Assassins, while Talia is kind of caught in the middle of this. Batman bluffs to join Ra's as a ruse, thinking that, he's double-crossed all of his friends. And that's where the plans go into place, where Ra's actually double-crosses Batman in a fight. And then Talia is actually shot in like the skirmish that happens. And then Ra's uses, he's going to use the Lazarus pit to try to bring her back and just like dip her very gently into it and not like fully submerge himself like he would. And they do that and revives Talia, but Batman and Ra's get into another fight as he gets thrown fully into the pit and becomes like this giant kind of fire monster dude who's burning down. He's like crushing Batman's ribs and burning him, but he's able to punch him back into the pit again, and they kind of all escape as Raz's island fortress is exploding. And then we get a rekindling with Bruce and Dick, as this is at that time when Dick Grayson's going off to college, not really going to be Robin so much anymore, and they go to hang out on top of the Wayne penthouse because Batman is living in the Bat bunker at this point atop Wayne Tower. I thought this was pretty fun. I liked it. It's weird to see, like, there's a lot of Lazarus Pit explanation in this, which I didn't have the time to go back and check if this was like the first full explanation of how the Lazarus Pit works, but I don't think it is. But I thought this was not bad. Irv Norvik's pencils were pretty good, as they always are, especially on Batman. And then this is still kind of fun to see Marv Wolfman setting up Dick Grayson that he'll later use in Teen Titans.
So this Robin is Dick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's like an older, I mean, as referenced, he's going to college.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. He doesn't graduate college, he drops out. But yeah, this is from May 1981. Teen Titans might actually already be going on. I'm not really sure. New Teen Titans, I mean. I feel like that's a 1980 something launch. And this is, we should note, it's the end of a 4-part story, and also the end of Marv Wolfman's brief run. And Marv Wolfman's run, along with some miscellaneous stuff that he did before, maybe before, but mostly after this, is soon to be in a hardcover. I thought this was an interesting pick, especially for me, because it's like, are any of you intrigued to read more of this arc or more Marv Wolfman writing Batman?
I mean, I like Marv Wolfman on Batman because I like Lonely Place of Dying, but I'm not the biggest Ra's al Ghul fan in the world. So I say yes as a Batman fan, but it's not something I'm going to immediately like clamor and go back and read.
Speaking of Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, do we want to talk about that, or is that overplayed? Like, I don't know. I don't know the difference personally.
I'm not talking about it because I'm tired of talking about it.
Okay. I like how he calls Batman detective. Just sort of like I don't mean to. I'll get back to what you asked in a minute. It's almost like I don't know, Holmes Moriarty feel to that relationship that I was about. But as for like Wolfman's Batman run, this issue didn't convince me one way or the other. Like, it was fine, I guess. It looked nice, but that's not a Wolfman thing.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't capture me a ton. I think this is like Ra's doesn't show up again until I think post-Crisis, which then that becomes a continuity question. But Ra's kind of sort of dies in this issue.
Yeah, he turns into the Molten Man and then explodes.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Roz is one of the. I mean, he's not quite the same as Joker or Riddler, where it's like we're gonna do a Joker story. Like for the most part, especially up until this point, from his first appearance through this issue, like Roz was basically every time he showed up, it was like a continued narrative. Like it did pick up from his last appearance always. I thought I mean, we talked about Catwoman and King Faraday being here. Catwoman is like not remotely used in this issue.
No.
I'm guessing and hoping that she gets a little bit more screen time and actual lines in previous issues. But she has like three lines here, and she's really just played against Talia, but not even. It's kind of interesting.
Well, this is peak time when Talia is Batman's love interest.
But then
she's the main love interest.
But then,
right, but then at the end, there's this weird thing where Bruce is like, I have this thing for Selena, but also Talia's whatever. And it's I don't know. It felt, granted, it's the last of a 4, issue arc. It felt like it came out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, it's funny because he like kind of, I mean, it's not like he pushed away Selena, but Selena effectively ditches him because he's shown more favor toward Talia, and then he has Talia, and Talia's like, bye.
Yeah.
So Bruce is just stuck with his 18-year-old ward. There's also reference to this doctor knowing his secret identity, and I don't know if that's a returning character in like this Bronze Age era or not, but that stood out to me.
I just assumed that Batman's about as good as keeping his identity a secret as Matt Murdock.
Actually, Batman's pretty good about it. There's not a lot of public, oh no, my identity is going to be secret things with him.
Historically.
But I mean, in this day and age of DC, I don't think secret identities mean anything with Superman revealing his identity next month. But that's a topic for another time.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to I'll say this now. I want to come back on this show and talk about that because I know I'll have opinions.
I mean, I'm not reading that book. Matt, if you listened to the last episode, you'd know that after Event Leviathan, I've sworn off all Bendis Superman. I'm not reading anymore.
I haven't read it. I haven't read it at this point, I think, for over a year. And it sounds like nothing's happened since then, so I think I made the right choice. Does Ra's al Ghul always have an army of Goombas?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sort of. I mean, this issue is interesting because he just has these mindless goons, like straight up. He like brainwashes them and stuff.
Yeah.
But oftentimes he has actual League of Assassins. Like he has high trained ninjas, and like 2 or 3 of them have names and are major characters eventually.
Right, because he's the head of the League of Assassins or whatever.
League of Assassins,
like
these, depending on what they want to call it.
I guess they call them mutates. Don't seem exactly like ninjas. These are probably the worst fucking ninjas to ever exist.
No, they're not.
I do want to point out, lastly, that this is like full-on eco-terrorist Ra's al Ghul, which I think we've kind of gotten a lot away from that from his earlier appearances.
So mutates, like nerdy, like Wikipedia entry terminology, that's in the Marvel universe what you call people with superpowers who are not born with them. So Captain America is a mutate.
Right.
All right, so that's Batman. I think we were all. It was an interesting pick, as often. Sometimes we get stinkers. This was not a super highlight, but it wasn't a bad issue.
No.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think that's our judgment. So now moving into this week's books, we had a big week, and one big crossover event ends with Absolute Carnage number 5. And I kind of feel like it's been a while since I read the last issue. I mean, we do this show every week, so it could have been 3 weeks ago, and I just, time is chaotic. But maybe this last one got delayed, or there was a gap.
I think it did get delayed by 2 weeks.
Okay. So we start with a flashback of Eddie and Cletus in prison together, which I didn't have the energy in me today to bother to try and see where that could be and if that's calling back to other stuff. But it's just to set up their historical relationship while they're fighting in the present. And then Eddie's like, "Hey, reinforcements are arriving," and it's basically mostly street level characters and then Captain Marvel. And then out of nowhere, Eddie's son Dylan has some weird anti-symbiote telekinesis powers and like rips he rips Norman like in just to pieces, or the symbiote out of the symbiote comes out of Norman and then he rips that symbiote to pieces. And it turns out the codices were all a ruse. Carnage wanted Eddie to get them all so that he could expedite things. And then the ultimatum is either I kill your son or the whole world is fucked. And so Eddie gets his badass moment where he's like, "Fuck the world," and turns the symbiote into a giant sword and cuts Carnage's spine in half. And it's pretty badass. But in doing that, in choosing his son, then Carnage effectively accomplishes what he wanted, except he's not like in the driver's seat since he gets cut in half. So Noel wakes up, and there's this double page splash page of like symbiote shooting out, and it has to be intentional, but like it's straight up a double page splash of like symbiote sperm going across the universe.
Nice.
It totally looks like that. They're like little symbiote heads, and they have like little trails behind them. It's very strange. There's no way no one thought of that. And Noel is big mad, and there's a splash page of him looking all edgy. I think he looks slightly different than like the way Trad Moore draws him in Silver Surfer Black, which all of us read for this show. And then the book just kind of ends, and Dylan is like, "Hey, did you say I was your son?" So that's going to be dealt with in the Venom book, which we don't read. And then Spider-Man is like, "I got to go deal with that Norman thing at some point." But I don't think that's not referring to the tie-ins that we've already read in Amazing Spider-Man. So I don't know if Nick Spencer is going to get to that later or if it wraps back around. I don't know. But I felt like this ending was slightly anticlimactic because it's like, oh, this event's over, but there's not really a satisfying conclusion, and it's just, hey, there's going to be a sequel event. There's going to be an Absolute Carnage #2 or Absolute Null.
Where does it leave Norman at?
So Norman had a version of the Carnage symbiote, and he's still crazy. He thinks he's Cletus.
Okay.
And Dylan like ripped up his Carnage symbiote, and so it's not clear whether he has the symbiote, but Norman's body disappeared. So Norman's just out there. He may or may not still think he's Carnage. He may or may not still have a symbiote, but he's out free. I don't know if this leads back into a major arc of Venom later, or if it's going to be another miniseries. I was also slightly surprised to not see, especially as we really lead into Nolan and everything. I think it would have been neat, and I was kind of surprised not to see like much reference to Silver Surfer or Thor. Even though Thor gets like a one-line reference in the book at some point, but it has no connection. But obviously, Null was a major factor in Silver Surfer Black, which ran alongside this and just ended. And I don't know how those line up. Both Donny Cates, obviously, and then he's going to Thor, and he's through War of the Realms. Jason Aaron connected the Thor mythology with Donny Cates' Venom mythology. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna tease whenever you're gonna get to this next storyline, then you think you'd also put like a half-page tease, like, "Hey, check out my next book." But I don't know. What did you guys? For those who read it, what did you think?
I liked that it kind of just ended kind of abruptly. I liked that it wasn't super big at the end of it. Also, since the last time we talked about a Donny Cates book on this show, he's now married. He got married last week, so congratulations him on that.
Wow, congratulations, Donny.
Yes, he married artist Megan Hutchison. So they got married in France, I believe.
Shit.
Is it weird?
So
Does he have the
I
mic?
like
for
it a lot. I think Stegman didn't miss a beat. He drew every single page and panel in this. It was absolutely fantastic, especially pulling in that 60-page first issue, which I don't think anyone does that anymore in terms of sheer on craziness. And I think the next arc on Venom is Venom Island. Now, I by this point for me, I'm probably going to read all of Donny Cates' Venom stuff when it's all said and done. But I do like the fact that Marvel took the stance of let's give Donnie a big event because Venom's a high-selling book. Let's use the big character that is popular and people want to see and get it out of the way here. And now it's a setup for the rest of his run. I kind of like that idea. And this wasn't an event that I think was as big or super large in scale as War of the Realms was, where it just kind of felt like it trickled out by the end of it. I felt like this was 5 issues. It did what it needed to do, and it's done, and I had fun with it.
The symbiote sword scene was really fucking badass.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I feel like this is a like overall just thinking back on this whole miniseries. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, going into it, I was a little nervous about it, but I mean, I think overall there was a lot of action, a lot of story driven stuff, and I don't know, kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, a couple of fun tie-ins as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, did we read any of those?
I read the
Besides-
Hulk one.
Okay.
Oh, the Hulk one was really good,
Hulk
actually.
one. I liked the Hulk one, and we also liked the Ghost Rider one.
Wasn't there a Spider-Man one too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the-
tie into Amazing Spider-Man. We like those.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't read Absolute Carnage. I'm probably going to read it in a trade, just because it sounds bonkers.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's 5 issues of fun, and you don't really have to read Venom to understand what's going on, which I think was a great strength of it. I'm very much enjoyed watching Donny Cates kind of take handle of these properties, and I'm really excited for what he's going to do with Thor, because I don't think he's written anything that I haven't enjoyed yet.
Well, and I mean, like, it's about Carnage. Like, Carnage is not a particularly, deep or really interesting character. So what I want from a Carnage story is just a lot of fun shit, and that's what it sounds like this is.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Yep.
Though, I think Thor's like literally right around the corner. I think we're probably all gonna try that out. They just released a bunch of the covers, and I don't really like
Ray Bill.
I don't like the very long hair Thor. It looks very strange to me.
I love the Nordic symbols on his costume now. I think that
His
looks
hair's
cool.
too long.
His hair's too long, but hey, it looks cool. Cosmic Thor, I think it'll be a fun idea.
The 90s are bad.
All right.
Boys.
Speaking of cool things, let's go to the future.
Yeah, good luck,
Alright.
Dan.
I'm gonna try to make thank you, Matt. I'm gonna try to make this
You
as
drew the short straw on this one, by the way.
what?
I said you drew the short straw on this one. You kind of you
Yeah,
got the worst book this week, but also you only have to recap one thing. So
that's
it-
true. Maybe that's
going different orders.
maybe that's why I got this book only because like this book is such shit that Dan needs to only have one of these and call it a night. So 2099 Alpha. I honestly have no idea what is going on in this issue. There's a lot of narration and like setup and stuff that I just have no context for. In the beginning, there's apparently like this little girl finding a hammer, Thor's hammer, and then we open up to like these people, like these like Nordic type people that are killing like these cops, and apparently there's like a god of thunder going around killing people. Like we see there's one person being hung like kind of like crucified with like the Thor hammer kind of like hanging around their neck, I think. And then we kind of pan to Miguel O'Hara talking with his scientist about his abilities and like the one thing like kind of not saying spider sense but like scientifically breaking down it and all that stuff, and I'm just like just say spider sense. But yeah, and then we kind of pan to Dr. Doom capturing the Watcher and kind of interrogating him about the future and like what all these people are and what their intentions are and stuff like that. it's an interesting concept. I mean, Vince can probably tell me if like Doctor Doom has ever done that before with the Watcher, but I think that's a cool concept. Then we also kind of pan to Herbie, who's about to get scrapped by a bunch of these people in a bar, and this girl named, I think her name is like Venture, saves him. And at the end, we kind of get Doctor Doom talking to the Watcher again, and we're like, at the end, it's kind of like pretty much like a promo for like the spin-off issue, like series, for Conan, Ghost Rider, Punisher, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man 2099. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's like a 1.0-ish, like a 0.01 issue, where it's like kind of promoting all these spin-off series, these 2099 series, or if this is an ongoing stuff. I mean, Vince will probably know more about it, but that is my attempt at a breakdown of this issue. What do you guys think of this piece of shit?
It is
a giant
weird.
It's a giant preview for a bunch of tie-ins to a 2099 event.
Yep. And I
And
don't
read
understand
this.
any of it.
Yes. So here's the thing. I'm happy you read this because now it confirms to me. Good. I only have to read Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Why did you have to read?
That's on the read.
But why did you have to make a whole issue to find out that, though? I mean, you probably knew that going in.
Well, sell money to sell books.
Well, like what I don't get is that this is written by Nick Spencer. This issue is written by Nick Spencer. I'm reading his Amazing Spider-Man, and I still have no idea what's happening at any point in this issue. You mentioned that conversation with Miguel, and some scientists couldn't tell you who he is. In the middle of that conversation, there's a page of a spider eating a man, and I don't really know why it's there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This also kind of confirms a thing for me where I don't think I really like Spider-Man 2099 beyond the costume. Like I don't really have any interest there.
No, I definitely get that.
It's something I can talk about when we talk about our next book, but I think like some of the scene writing was fine. The constant jumping around doesn't play to Spencer's strengths here at all, or really any writers, because you have to shoehorn basically a 5-page preview into. I think this was oversized.
I don't think it is.
It felt like it was when I was reading it. But I don't think the art was bad though. I think I don't like this because there's nothing to it. It's basically a giant, and I'm guessing this was sold because I can't remember how much it was sold for. I'm thinking
Right.
this was more than a $3.99 book.
Definitely.
That's ridiculous.
So you bought incomprehensibly stupidity for $5.99. So yeah, that's.
And like, there's some really cool imagery in here.
I like the floor panel with Mjolnir around that guy's neck. That was cool.
Yeah, great. And the page with Doctor Doom and the Watcher is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I got to that page. I'm like, finally, this book's going somewhere, and then it doesn't. This also has nothing, as far as I can tell, nothing to do with what's going on in Amazing Spider-Man, other than 2099 and something with Doom.
Pretty much.
So I don't. It's not very good.
Vince, thoughts?
Yeah, so my quick thing is, I mean, Dan kept saying like as my name as if I know what's going on either. I don't.
I mean, it's someone's been
I don't want it to be like you always got to go to Vince because we do that, but like he ain't gonna know.
No, but like if we're lost, I understand hoping that maybe you know something back there that can help rationalize this nonsense.
Well, one thing,
four of us are gathered here. I'll say this: when we're on a trip or at a store, when there's something that's been published that's not out this week, we can go to Vince and go, "Hey, what do you know about this? There it works." Or tell me about this character. A book that came out this week doesn't work like that.
No.
Doesn't work for anyone, really.
The one insight that I might be able to provide is similar to Mike. Like, I like the idea of Spider-Man 2099, but I haven't actually like sat down and read the original run yet. So the scene where he's like talking about the spider sense and everything like that, and even like the spider eating the dude. I think, but I'm not certain that that's basically a very like unexplained and partial recap of Miguel's origin. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Because Miguel's origin, he didn't have those powers or anything, and I don't think he's bitten by a spider. He helped to develop a like basically like fake superpowers, inspired by Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Right, and it was meant for his brother, I think.
Yeah, and
Got it. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a corporate superhero kind of deal, and then there was some shenanigans, and so in a haste to sabotage / save it and get the hell out of there and avenge his brother and all kinds of different factors, he administered it to himself, and that's how he became Spider-Man 2099.
Like Ted Sallis.
Yeah, so I think that's what those pages are, but there's really like not enough rope for you to figure that out, if that's even true. And then like honestly, like I like the idea of 2099, but I like the idea of 2099 as this like stupid thing that they did in the mid 90s, where it was like Spider-Man was. I mean, I feel like 2099 oddly has a lot of similarities with Ultimate Universe when you think about it, where it's like the only thing worthwhile to read is Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, there was Doom. Doom was good.
Yeah, and it was a long run by a signature creator, and then there are a few like bright spots, like Doom 2099 by Warren Ellis, but that's like 30 issues into the series, and like the first like 3 issues of Ghost Rider 2099 because it's Chris Bachalo and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's like Hulk 2099 ran for over 20 issues by Gerard Jones. It's like yay. So like, and especially like, okay, Hulk 2099, Punisher 2099, Ghost Rider 2099, they did ridiculous stuff back then in the 90s. But it's like, I don't really want to see new characters 2099ized. Like,
No.
Conan 2099 sounds like the worst. I have negative interest in that.
Marvel really wants us to like Conan the Barbarian.
I'm down for that, but not 2099 and Savage.
Perfect example. In Avengers No Road Home, great inclusion, made sense. This, you're just cash cowing it.
Yeah.
Right. We have the Conan IP, put them in there.
I mean, wouldn't that one shot? It might be all right, but I'm not going to read it to see. The other thing is, so Venture, the quick character that we get like a very quick introduction and no context. So Venture was like one of Miguel's major villains in the original run, but Venture was a dude, and he eventually died. But he had a sister, but she never took on the name Venture. So I think this is her, but there's no explanation. I don't know.
See,
She has a cool design. She looks pretty badass.
The confirmation here. Well, the other thing is before they said Venture, I was like, is this Elsa Bloodstone 2099?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Because Kelly Thompson across a few books has been pushing Elsa Bloodstone recently. I think in Jessica Jones, now in Deadpool, and in Fearless or whatever that book was called. So I was like, is that Elsa? And she's in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, this issue is a mess, and as someone said, the confirmation here is that this issue is totally unnecessary.
Yep.
It's really the same as that that War of the Realms epilogue one shot, which just previewed like Loki, Valkyrie, whatever, and King Thor. Yeah. Just skip all these bullshit. But it's impossible to ever tell, especially since Nick Spencer wrote this. It was really a coin flip.
Close us out with Spider-Man Corner with Amazing, please.
All right. I can talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 34. Pat Gleason is still on art, and it still looks great. I don't know if, I didn't listen to you guys talked about it before, but I think Gleason looks. I think his art is amazing on Spider-Man, as it always is.
We have talked about it, and we agree.
Okay, fantastic. I think it looks amazing. I love it. And of course, I've been enjoying Spencer Run the entire time, and this is really not much of an exception. I'll get into that in a little bit, but for now, what exactly happens in this issue? So, Miguel is still kind of recovering from having fallen out of a building, and he has like I don't know, like a vision about Doom, which is whatever. Pete's friend, who he made a couple issues ago, I can't remember his name. He created a machine that can see a little bit into the future, which I'm sure is going to be a great MacGuffin later on in the story. Meanwhile, the Chameleon is now a war puppeteer, which I think is really cool. And he has the Hitman assassinate Doctor Doom. And it apparently works, and immediately everyone starts freaking out because Doctor Doom's been assassinated. What they don't know is a Doombot, which is, of course, what Pete says when he shows up and tears off the Doombot's head, because Doctor Doom is going to be a Doombot. Miguel finally finds Pete. He's like, Spider-Man, you got to help me. The future is coming undone. Because of Doctor Doom? Somehow, whatever exactly the reason is for, is not really explained because Miguel explodes, and then Doctor Doom takes over Manhattan, and that's where the issue ends. So far, this 2099 story in Amazing Spider-Man has been, I think, a little lost, or at least I'm lost in it. There's the whole Doctor Doom angle, and there's Miguel, and they're connected somehow, but not in a way that is clear yet. It also has something to do with Simcaria and Silver Sable, maybe, unless that was just a device to get to Doom's assassination. So far, I think this is, in terms of writing, the weakest point of Spencer's run. I'm hoping that as the story continues, it'll kind of clear up and I don't know, make more sense. But for now, it looks amazing, and that's good enough for now.
I think the book is, yeah, I agree. I think this is the weakest writing of his run. I kind of just want this story to be over because it's been 3 issues now. Hasn't really hit the ground running. Not feeling it.
No.
Art's fine, but I care more about story over art. And from that point, I just kind of want this to be over because I'm not having fun with it. And it also seems like Spencer is trying to throw in a bunch of threads and try to do like 3 stories at once for things he had to probably shift around for when he had to do the tie-ins to Absolute Carnage and then other Marvel events that have come up through the time. So that's kind of where I'm thinking why it's like this, but I'm not loving it, and I kind of just want it to be over.
And like, none of the stories are really gripping me. The thing with Miguel is not really interesting. I have never cared about Silver Sable. Honestly, I think the coolest part of the story is Chameleon turning himself into a war profiteer. That's kind of neat. The way he's playing both Latveria and Simcaria against each other. That's cool. I'd like to see Spider-Man, I guess, go after Chameleon more, but instead we're going to do Doom, I guess, and 2099, and I'm not really here for it.
Also, since you haven't been on the show, what else is not cool about the whole Doom Simcaria thing is that, like, literally the exact same things are happening in the Doctor Doom miniseries.
Seriously?
One of those issues ended with someone with a sniper taking aim at Doom and shooting him.
Oh my
God.
God.
Taskmaster shooting Doom in the head. It's a bad thing. right now.
And there's like Simcaria maneuvering and stuff like that, geopolitics. There's lots of weird things not matching up.
I wish they could have, like, what if they, okay, and obviously there's no way for this to happen because this Doctor Doom book is entirely unrelated from the 29 event. But if those two assassinations could have been the same assassination, okay, I want more Taskmaster in the Amazing Spider-Man. I love the way Nick Spencer writes Taskmaster, and I think he would have been so much better in this moment instead of Hitman. But whatever.
Which is funny because it's Taskmaster in the Doctor Doom book.
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole drama that Miguel is jumping in this book with, he's
wait. Dan hasn't shared his thoughts.
All right, go
Dan,
ahead.
share your thought.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, like I feel like the plot with the Doctor Doom bot and all that stuff, I feel like it kind of clears up some continuity issues we had with the Doom solo series, but like you said, it's still kind of fucked. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this whole thing just needs to get back on track because it's been about 3 issues since this whole thing has been good for me, at least. So hoping it gets steered back on track.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And because say what we're gonna say about Miguel, because he literally fell into issues ago. Vince.
So my comment with Miguel is that he's coming in. The drama from his angle is he's like, yeah, you're all familiar with multiverse and all that stuff, and meaning alternate future versions. But
Yeah.
I'm not an alternate dimension. I'm your real future. And it's like, I don't care how hard you try that. That's just not how Marvel Universe works. And like just the story structure, you just can't do that. 2099 cannot be the future of the Marvel Universe because we're going to get to 2099 and they're not going to have Miguel as Spider-Man. And so any attempt that you make to try and say it's the real future of the main universe, it just doesn't work based on the rules and just logically. So I don't know why they even try with that.
Right. Like when he said that, my thought was, oh, so he's fighting against the sliding time scale. It's a sliding time scale, the villain of this book, but no, it's not. It's Doctor Doom, I guess.
So Pete makes a joke. I think it's Pete. Yeah, Pete makes a joke about Doom hanging out in Latveria and watching Hulu all day. Is that a Disney? Is that like some Disney shenanigans? Because realistically, based on the amount of users, he should be saying Netflix. Like more people use Netflix. Doom would use Netflix, but Disney has a stake in Hulu. That's my conspiracy theory. And if this
Doom
book,
would use Disney Plus.
The Beatles albums.
yeah, if this book came out like 6 months from now, they would say Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So we skipped. Also out this week is Fantastic Four 2099. I don't think any of us are upset that we missed that.
I didn't even know it came out this week.
Are you good? We've gone over this before, but are you guys going to touch any of these tie-ins?
No.
Not now. No.
Oh, hell no.
I might read the Spider-Man 2099 one because it's written by Spencer. Okay, no. I will read the Spider-Man 2099 one because it's written by Spencer. Even though I know it's not going to have anything to do with like the stuff I care about, I'm going to read it anyway. But the rest of it, no.
I might try Ghost Rider. Depends on how many books I have. All right, so that's that. Aquaman. This book's actually this. This
I actually read Aquaman.
Go, man.
So, this book is intercut with flashbacks to a young black Manta hanging out with his dad, and those scenes, I think they're written well. There's like some philosophy about the coins that people throw in fountains. Black Manta's dad's like, yeah, just steal the coins. Like, who gives a fuck? This person threw it away, so you can take it. And then there's something about like tears don't matter, or you can cry all you want, because just like the ocean, I don't know, water doesn't mean shit. It's kind of interesting, but you don't think too hard about it. And then there's also a scene where Black Manta's father teaches him the ethics of football. You never go easy on the opposing team, and it's not a matter of they might catch up. You just don't do that. Always go for the win. And then in the actual present, Black Manta is now in a giant stupid mech, imbued with his father's personality as AI, and he's shooting up Amnesty Bay and Aquaman. He corners him on land, so he doesn't have some of his powers and the sea life access and everything like that. And he just shoots him point blank as Mera and Aqualad unsuccessfully rush over, and poof, Aquaman's gone. And they like quickly make a note. They're like, that was a really close blast. He probably just went flying somewhere. And they're like, I mean, he's probably dead, but who knows where the body is? And then Aqualad, Jackson Hyde, seems to learn his dad's origin here. Black Manta's like, he killed your grandfather, right? And like he's saying that as if he's never shared that with him before. And I think that's like a whole post Flashpoint mess, because I was very surprised, 6 issues back, when technically in this continuity, Aqualad met Aquaman for the first time ever. It's so weird. And then Black Manta tells his AI father to shoot his own grandson, and he overrides that hesitation and does it because he's a crazy villain. And this issue ends with the horror writer / lighthouse keeper, who I'm going to be calling Old Man Cthulhu. He transforms, and now there's a giant kaiju fight between Mecha Black Manta and H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu guy in the middle of the ocean. And in the foreground, Arthur's just like unconscious, floating in the water. So this issue kind of got me a little bit up on the series, like more interested. I liked the scenes with Black Manta and his father, and some of the parallels with Jackson, playing into that family aspect. And I'm interested to see where it keeps going. We are going to get like the full Mera pregnancy, so hard to say, how far they actually go through with it. But I enjoy this book. And the next book is also me, because none of you suckers read Aquaman. No. And after we were pretty much disappointed by the Ghost Rider arc that we jumped into for Avengers, I decided to stick around for one extra issue. It's not issue 54.
It's not 54.
It is issue 26. Aquaman was 54. So Avengers 26, this is a one-off story drawn by Dale Kuhn. And it's basically an origin of the Star brand in this post-Hickman era, where it's not this new universe obscurity. And we see a lot of the stuff that we've seen in History of the Marvel Universe, where it's like there are like deviants and the Kree running around the Earth with dinosaurs and shit. And the Star brand like lands on Earth and gets attached to a T-Rex. So there's a splash page of a T-Rex like with the Star brand logo on his chest, running around like breathing energy. It's pretty badass.
Looks fucking sick.
And then dinosaurs all die. So then we go forward in time to 65 million years ago, and we have, somewhat interestingly, 2 gay cavemen in a garden. And so it's they don't have these names, but it's like an Adam and Steve joke, kind of weird. And they're in their perfect garden, and some deviants have discovered the garden and attacked them. And the cavemen, one of them is like this huge buff dude who has like some kind of like background in like more like aggressive or primitive culture. And then there's like the shorter, like weaker guy, and the bigger guy dies, and they like fall in a pit, and this dinosaur is somehow like still there with all of its body. I guess there wasn't actually that much of a time skip. And so the Star Brand transfers from the dead T-Rex to not the huge buff guy, but the scrawny guy who survived. But because his big buff caveman lover died in front of his eyes and everything, he's like really edgy. And with the Star Brand, he turns into this like Red Hulk looking dude. And then the issue basically ends with an Andrea Sorrentino sequence with the actual Avengers of 1 million BC, Jason Aaron's thingy thing. So I guess this Star Brand was around for 64 million years at least, which I'm sure just made him even edgier. Also, it's kind of weird that it's not at all the Andrea Sorrentino style that you'd think of from like Green Arrow and stuff like that. In fact, it almost comes off like he's aping Assad Ribic or something. I don't know. I mean, I know why I read this, but this was pretty dumb. But I had a little bit of fun with it. I read it to see Dale Kuhn do some stupid shit, and Dale Kuhn was a perfect fit for this because he was one of the artists on Peter David's Hulk after McFarlane and Jeff Purvis, and he left in 1993 to do basically his Hulk ripoff at Image Pit, which was a huge hit, but there were all kinds of delays and everything, and he moved from Image to self-publishing, and then, once you do that, no one cares. And he reunited with Peter David for some Hulk stuff. He did The End, that one shot, and very recently for Last Call, which we read for this show and pretty much liked, and blah, blah, blah. But he's done covers pretty regularly for Marvel, and I guess they put him on this for their weird, edgy Hulk Star Brand 1 million BC thing. And it was fun. If you like stupid, like, there are dinosaurs in here, there are gay cavemen. It's not like there's a sex scene or anything. It doesn't really matter that they're gay, but there are cavemen, dinosaurs, a little bit of like lore with the Kree and deviants, and then like a edgy Hulk ripoff who beats a bunch of people up.
Now,
so if you're into that, and it's like sort of 90s art, if you're into that, maybe worth picking up the single issue.
I know basically nothing about Starbrand. Isn't the modern Starbrand also gay?
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Because I think he had the thing with Night Mask, right?
Is that a thing?
I think so. So is Starbrand just like a gay power?
It might be. Maybe the T-Rex was gay. I'd love to see that. Okay. I don't know how do T-Rexes have big dicks? I don't know about that. That's a different podcast.
Whatever.
That's a quote of the night.
Actually, on that note,
big dicks.
Actually, on that note, I did want to like sort of sneak in like a slight plug, which probably will never happen. Several of us, the 4 of us here, I think, have discussed tentative plans for some kind of ridiculous image-related podcast.
Yeah.
And if we did that, several episodes in, we would get to Dale Kuhn and we'd read, based on the way I've thought of the format, we'd jump into an issue of Hulk, jump into Pit, and then stuff like that. So in 3 years from now, check out for that. And now let's talk about an issue that everyone actually cares about.
I was going to say, I have a problem talking about an Avengers book where the Avengers don't show up in it. It shouldn't be a thing. But Batman, number 83, Tom King, Mikhail Janin. City of Bane rages right on. Bruce wakes up, and he's captured now in Wayne Manor after being shot by Thomas. And he wakes up to the horrific scene of the dead Alfred across the table that he's chained up into. As Alfred's dead body and snap neck is just sitting there taunting Bruce. And in there, Bruce is kind of going crazy, but he does find letters. and it's revealed what we all thought was when we were all worried that Bruce was like, did Bruce sacrifice Alfred? No, it's revealed that Alfred lied, giving Bruce the signal to come back to Gotham, and that Alfred sacrificed himself to save Bruce and the Bat family in order for them to win. And through all this, I think there's a very beautiful scene of Bruce taking off his cape, and after sitting Alfred on the bed, putting the cape over him, going to confront the Bat family, and then he's going to prepare for one final showdown with Thomas Wayne for Alfred. I thought this was a very, very good emotional issue. Vince is going to complain that there's poetry in it again, but I think this is really, really good as it all is ramping up to the end. Janin, I think, did a great job with Bruce's pain in this issue, and then Jordi Belair on the colors with the very, very deep blues. Also, tremendous job all around. It's great, as always.
I'm not going to complain about the poetry because I didn't read it, but in absentia, I will complain about the poetry. And additionally, Alfred is still dead, still stupid, regardless of how it's portrayed. And my other
if
note,
the death is good, then it can't be stupid.
no, death is just stupid. The other note is that this story is called City of Bane, not City of Thomas Wayne. So I feel like
Thomas Wayne would take up too many letters in the cover.
Yeah,
like that was-
admittedly, I'm not reading the story, but that whole recap, you didn't say the word Bane once.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
that's because like Bane got shot in the last issue. We're past him. Batman already beat him. Batman already beat him.
What?
Dang it.
but
Okay.
there are 3 issues
What?
left of City of Bane.
Well, Bane was running the city.
Well, 2 more. Not counting this. Dan, did you read this since I did not?
Yeah. Yeah, just like what Mike said, I mean, I thought this was pretty good, pretty reflective on Alfred and Bruce's relationship. Yeah, this whole storyline is boiling to a climax, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
It's 2 more.
2 more?
Going.
11
Also,
issues?
Giant
11?
spoilers for that because now he's got.
Is 85 his last issue before he goes
80?
into his whatever?
Yeah, 85 is his last one before Batcat starts.
Yeah.
Dial H for Hero number 9. This is an amazing book. No poetry included.
Wow, made it past 6 issues.
Yeah. Well, they all got extended.
Yeah,
to 12.
they're all get extended to 12.
That's great.
So Miguel and Summer are unpaid interns at the Daily Planet, and they're bullied by Steve Lombard, a Superman supporting character from the Bronze Age. Is he in the Bendis books? I think he is, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I think I saw him once in action.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was in action a little bit back when I was reading it.
And the second page of this issue, or one of the art gimmicks from Joe Quinones in this issue is Chris Ware pages, like Jimmy Corrigan and stuff. And it just, like, literally the second page, it just fucking blew my mind. Like, this dude is beyond talented. He needs an Eisner for this book.
Yeah.
So I really can't conceive remotely if he doesn't get nominated for an Eisner nomination.
Yeah. It'll be ridiculous, and we've been calling for this like since issue 2.
It's like insane. Also, speaking of T-Rexes and penises, well, not that, but Miguel is gay, I guess. Mike, do you remember this ever being acknowledged in previous issues? Not that it remotely matters, but I don't think I remember it ever being referenced.
Nope, and it doesn't really matter to me because I don't care.
No, not at all. I just, it's slightly stood out to me. I mean, I guess that's really, I mean, that's how you do it well, is like you drop it and it's like, oh, okay.
I thought that scene was good though. I thought the scene was played really well.
Yeah. And he wants to use the H style to become Super Miguel so he can go on a date with the dude. And he's basically beginning to have withdrawal symptoms. He's getting closer to the Thunderbolt Club types. And there's a reference in this issue to the 52 universes in the multiverse, which I will refer to people to Justice League, which we will talk about later. There are no longer 52 universes, there are 51 because Gotham by Gaslight got fucking smoked.
Yeah, got wiped off the face of the multiverse.
So Snapper Carr rolls up on them, and he has upgraded the Mayoverse Madness truck. And there's also Snapper Carr makes a joke about, like, he insults Miguel by referencing Baxter paper, and that is a really cool DC nerdy reference and deep cut. But at the same time, does it really work as an insult? I don't think so. And Robbie gives him a mission to find one of the other 4 dials, and Miguel finally breaks down and uses a dial, but instead of turning into Super Miguel, he turns into the early adopter. And the early adopter's gimmick is that he stands in line to get the newest iPhone and other gadgets and gizmos, but none of them work properly. And that's his gimmick. It's not remotely useful.
Yeah.
And stylistically,
I just have to say, you know what the early adopter is going to be riding around in, right?
A Tesla, what is it called? Super truck?
Cybertruck.
Cybertruck. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But stylistically, this is a Hanna-Barbera reference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got shades of like Johnny Quest. And then he has a catchphrase once or twice, which is kind of reminiscent of like Jinkies and like Scooby-Doo type stuff.
Of course, I could also read a reference to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because the Turtles have their battle van, and we get a full-on turtle homage later in this issue.
Yeah, and then the Thunderbolt Club turn into turtle ripoffs, and they're geckos, and they even they have multiple Cowabunga parodies, and one of them, instead of saying Cowabunga, they say Chip Zdarsky, which made me laugh quite a bit. And then Summer, to help out Miguel, turns into Lolo Kick You Again. And I think in this issue, she's closer. I think they're homaging Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah.
I think that's the reference point there. And then the issue ends that they jump in the truck and they like plug in the phone to the truck, kind of like an aux port or something, and they're going to go travel the multiverse. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully they don't go to Gotham by Gaslight, because I can only take too much bad continuity in my comic books.
I can just assume this is taking place before all of that happens.
Yeah, well, none of that matters. I mean, we're going to read Jimmy Olsen later, which prominently features Lex Luthor in many issues.
Well, I mean, we're going to read Justice League, and yeah, Tim Drake's costume is wrong in Justice League, so
yeah.
Or you can argue that Tim Drake's costume is right in Justice League. So
Gal H #9, another pretty much perfect issue. This series,
yep,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's this Wonder Twins Batman are like the kind of fun DC books that I like reading right now, and I'm not going to add more onto it because it's just a really good book. So I'll go right into He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse.
Before you do, I would not call Batman fun, but go on.
Wait, and not Jimmy Olsen?
Wait, what?
You said fun.
I have problems with.
You think Batman is fun and not Jimmy Olsen?
I always have fun reading Batman.
All right, talk about He-Man.
All right, yeah, He-Man, Masters of the Multiverse, Tim Seeley, Dan Fraga. So like, I read this on a whim. I was like, oh, Tim Seeley, I like Tim Seeley. He-Man, I liked He-Man when I was younger. Let's try this. And it all spontaneously combusts when I didn't read the title properly, and I thought this was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And then I looked at the title, and it's He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse, and I went, oh no, I think I know what this is going to be. And yep, this is anti-He-Man killing people. It's Spider-Verse, but with He-Man. And oh god, did I make a horrible mistake. I got to see 1987 Dolph Lundgren He-Man though, and I've never seen that movie. But no interest from me here of anti-He-Man killing other versions of He-Man, and also hardly any other Masters of the Universe in this, which was disappointing. And then it ends with like space He-Man, and no thank you. But hey, if you like He-Man like a lot, you might like this.
Is
See, actually,
is Meme He-Man in it? Is Hey-Man in it?
No, I didn't see him.
so
There was like a TV He-Man.
I don't give a fuck about Masters of the Universe. I never watched TV, and it's before our time, really, anyways.
Well, there was the 2000s cartoon.
Okay, but He-Man's dumb. But I know Tim Seeley is a fan of the franchise, but also I had no idea that Dan Frega drew this, aka Frega Boom, hired by Rob Liefeld for Extreme Studios when he was barely out of high school to draw Bloodstrike. And so now I want to flip through it, but probably not.
It's not
But
great. It's very 90s.
That's good.
All right.
Hey, look, a book that's good.
So, guys, I'm not sure if you've heard about the Immortal Hulk yet, but it's a pretty good book, and you should probably be reading it if you're not, because it's really good. This issue has a really interesting format where there are for the first half or so of the issue, there are 3 different conversations going simultaneously. One between the Minotaur and his Roxxon executives, another between Bruce Banner and that doctor woman whose name I can't remember, recently joined his quest to destroy the world, and 2 Roxxon guards who are part of their Berserker unit. Roxxon's a weird sort of blind spot in my Marvel knowledge, so I don't know if the Berserker unit is a pre-existing thing. These guys basically turn into giant, horrifying monsters. Ewing does a really cool thing where, even though there are 3 completely separate conversations, each one leads, I was gonna say subtly, but it's not really subtle, leads into the next through word choice, which makes the issue read in a really strange way. I think it's also very gripping. Roxxon guards start fighting each other. The Minotaur has some sort of social commentary going on about because it's Roxxon, Roxxon's inevitably a social commentary, and the Hulk's getting prepared to teleport into the Roxxon data center that is being defended by the aforementioned Berserker unit. And once Hulk teleports into there, the entire book becomes a series of double page splashes with Hulk destroying these guys while Minotaur continues his own rant and gets increasingly more violent himself, leading up to him killing one of his executives and saying that he found himself in need of a stress ball, which is a humorous little line. And Hulk managed to do some real damage to Roxxon by taking out this data center. And then he basks in the sunlight in a beautiful final page. Guys, this book's just good. I don't know how many of you are reading it, but if it's not all of you, then I don't know what you're doing.
It's just me. It's just me. They're gonna read and trade.
That's fine, I guess, but
Or
it's so
select
good.
oversized hardcover.
I don't know. That's my summary. I think it's fantastic. What exactly Hulk is trying to do with his destroy the world thing. I don't remember because I haven't read the book in a while, so I don't remember exactly what his goal is. That being said, I still think this issue was fantastic, and Minotaur
His
is
goal now is that he believes the world is already fucked, so he's going to try to make it better by just smashing the things that are bad now and asking questions later.
he's kind of an eco-terrorist.
Yeah, he's kind of an eco-terrorist, but like on the side of like, oh, Hulk isn't wrong,
No,
but also like, yeah, maybe you're going about this in the wrong way.
and
But
like,
I do find Minotaur in a boardroom of Roxxon employees pretty hilarious. So no, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying this a lot. Joe Bennett, this is one of Joe Bennett's best issues, I think. Balancing the fight scenes and the boardroom scenes. The Minotaur looks great in every single panel he's in. And then in terms of sad news, this issue's dedicated to his like young son that passed away. So that's not fun to hear at all. And sorry to
Yeah.
hear that. But
yeah, that's really rough.
yeah, that's not fun news to deliver at all. But I think best of thoughts to Joe Bennett and his family. But I would like to see an Eisner nomination also for Joe Bennett because every single issue he's drawn in this, which by this point I believe it's all but been 2 issues where there's been 2 guest artists for thematic purpose. He's been nothing short of absolutely fantastic on this book.
It's always a gorgeous book. I mean, look, this is I think the best book Marvel's putting out. Probably one of the best books the big 2 are putting out right now. It's so good. Everyone raves about it, but it deserves it.
No, you can make the argument this is the best of them, not one of the best. You can make the argument that this is the best, definitely, and it continues to be good. It's that book that when it's on the show, it's a quick recap because there's not a lot more to talk about it other than it's really, really good.
Yeah,
So,
and it's wild because it's in such a almost radically different place from where it started. When you and I first talked about it, and we were really praising how it felt very similar to like the TV show, and now
Yep.
it has 0 similarities to that. But it's
Absolutely
still clearly the same book. It's a coherent story, and it's just so good.
and I want to see the Hulk fight the Minotaur. So,
I can't wait for it.
But Justice League number 36, we have Scott Snyder sole writing this. No James Tynion this time. And then we have Francis Manapul and Howard Porter pulling dual duties on arts. Howard Porter draws the last half. Francis Manapul draws the first half. The Jailblade is preparing to fight for the Legion of Doom, but they have to now look at it through a different lens. Superman is talking to every hero and saying, hey guys, we lost because we didn't view Lex any differently, and hey, he beat us because we overlooked him, or I guess we underlooked him. So Perpetua also has absorbed all the other powers of the Legions of Doom and kind of captured them and given their power to Lex. So Lex is now launching his all-out assault on the fortress. I'm sorry, on the Hall of Justice, not the Fortress of Solitude. Yeah, on the Hall of Justice, and Batman has one last secret, which is he's weaponized the Fortress of. I keep wanting to say Fortress of Solitude. Weaponized the Hall of Justice to become this giant floating airship thing that he's going to fight them with. Whatever. I thought Howard Porter's art was little bad here. It looked a little rushed. Manipul stuff at the beginning looked good. I kind of just want this to wrap up at this point for the Justice Doom War. I think it's gone way too many issues.
Is John back yet?
Nope.
I'm all right. He will be though.
He's on the Legion of
Heroes. I'm on a similar.
No, I meant John Jones.
Yeah, he's
I totally,
he's still dead.
Yeah, okay.
I totally missed it too. But I think he's the voice inside Luthor's head, though, right?
Yeah, he's the voice inside.
There's captions with like, don't do this. Shit's getting really crazy. I'm kind of in the same boat where like I was very, very excited, and like it's still pretty epic. But like once I realized that this like arc is effectively going to be like 10 fucking issues, I'm like, Jesus. But Granted, we have 3 more issues in this run, I believe.
Yeah, because then
The coolest part about Perpetua, like siphoning all of the Legion of Doom's powers into Lex, is she does so by turning Brainiac into a chair. Which I think is kind of
10,000 or whatever version of the souped up version of Brainiac. Perpetua just destroys him because he could become too powerful, and she uses all the information he houses as a chair. So basically, she kind of makes like a Mobius chair for herself.
it's really funny to me. And I like there's a huge splash page of all the heroes like listening to Superman, and in the background, Beast Boy is a giraffe for no reason. And like in my head, it's like so he can see over everyone else or something. But it's just a funny image of all these superheroes like lined up in this crowd shot, and there's a giraffe, a green giraffe. But yeah, the other thing is like, I feel like Lex won like 5 issues ago, and the last
he did win 5. No, because he did win 5 issues ago.
No. So we've spent like 4 issues of everyone being like, we lost, but we gotta ready our last stand. But it's like every single time it's the exact same thing, and there's more Hawk Girl scenes in this issue, and it's like nothing is really advanced there.
It takes
like just
forever to get back to Earth.
finish this fucking story, even though it is really pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think last issue you were on that path. I was like, okay, well, because I thought this time I was like more forgiving on the last issue because I thought this was the issue where we're going to get more development. But no, it's still everyone sitting around feeling sorry for each other.
But would you say that Snyder's run, this story, but the run in general, is still worth reading?
I didn't read almost the entire first half of the run, so
Okay.
I can't comment on that. I think thinking where this story is going to go, because I have the suspicion that he's going to pull in Batman Who Laughs to save the day in this. I'm not going to like it, and I'm going to hate it.
Batman Who Laughs is still a thing? What the dick?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's going to get pulled into this Justice League arc, but probably pop up again in.
Seriously, I want to say I believe you, but we had that panel in the last issue where he was waking up, and I was like, that you can't just have that on the page, and Perpetua then act scared that he's there without that coming back later.
Because Batman Who Laughs is the cool new villain, you know?
It'll be in the next thing. There will be a Metal 2 or whatever they want to spin it. Snyder's going to get the next
times infinite crisis of infinite crisis. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage, #1 by Jeff Lemire and Dennis Cohen, with help on inking and I think finishes by Bill Sienkiewicz. So we have 2/3 of part of the original 1980s Question team here. Obviously, that was written by Dennis O'Neil, but it is Jeff Lemire this time around. The Question is one of Jeff Lemire's biggest characters, and I'm sure that this has been a thrill for him to work on. I'm a very big Question fan. I love that 80s series very, very much. And I'm going to start by saying I didn't love this because I think Jeff Lemire's characterization of Vic Sage is off on more than one thing, but this is Lemire getting to play around in his own continuity. So I'll have to get used to that upon further issues. But Vic Sage's back in Hub City, it opens up like it's just right in the middle of the 80s series. He's investigating corruption in Hub City, which leads him to find a ring on a politician's finger after he busts up a sex ring with this weird symbol on it. And he goes to Aristotle Roeder, his friend. He's been able to trace it back to the Hub City's Historical Society as he discovers, digging around, he comes kind of like this abandoned building with a crevice that one of those hallways that goes down deeper and deeper and deeper. And as he's digging around there, he finds a mask of the Question with a bullet hole in it. Meanwhile, we have corrupt Mayor Wesley Furman. Myra Furman this time around is not his kind of captive wife. It's her brother. which is an odd choice. But that threw me off at the beginning. I was like, was Myra originally her brother, and that was an even weirder thing that was going on? No, that's new for this. But then as there's corruption going on in the city, there we get multiple different scenes of Hub City breaking down with the Question trying to figure out what's going on, while also police violence happening as a police officer savagely murders two unarmed black teenagers. It's going to need Vic Sage's help exposing that to the media because he's a news reporter, but he's too busy. He then goes and visits Richard Dragon for some reason. And then Richard Dragon was never in Hub City. He was all the way out in his own place. That's throwing me off. And it ends with him getting sent to the Old West. I don't really know what's happening here, but in terms of art, it looks like Dennis Cohen never stopped drawing the Question because it looks as good as it did in the 1980s in the original series, which is really, really cool to see. But my problems with this are that Vic Sage is not the kind of Buddhist monk that he's supposed to be at this point. He's still kind of filled with rage and acting on instinct instead of calm, calculated, which is what we see him after he visits Richard Dragon in the beginning of the series. And he's overtly cruel to Myra. There's a lot of character issues I have with this where it does not feel like the Vic Sage that I'm a fan of here. And I'm quite frankly sad to say I'm disappointed because I thought this was going to be an amazing book. So.
And I think you're the only one that read it.
So you didn't read it. So you were supposed to read it. Dan was supposed to read it. I'm the only one that read it.
I'll look into it.
It's not actually who Vic Sage is. Is Vic Sage one of the Questions? Is he a Question? I don't know.
It's not like I'm going to recap anyway.
That irked me in it is that when he goes to Aristotle, Roder, or Tot for short, Tot always called him Charlie. He never calls him Victor because Vic Sage actually has two names. His real name's Charles Victor Zaz. It's very small things that I'm like, you should, if you're a fan, you should know these things. But I can understand he's playing around with his own thing. I'd say that the Question here is more closer to the Steve Ditko version, which is more closely related to his creation of Mr. A than the kind of calm, cool, collected monk of the Dennis O'Neil series. And I think getting my mind set to that, I'll be good for the rest of the issues. Because I think this is 4 issues, and it might be playing with a different element of the Question. Because he's a character that's never had a full kind of set characterization across the board. But in terms of art, the art's very good, and I do want to see where it's going. I was just kind of, I had that moment of oh wow, it's like the 80s series never ended, and then immediate was oh no, this is all wrong. But I'll see where it goes.
Cool to see a Question book though.
No, and then once again in terms of art, this is a Black Label book, so there is swearing in it. And with the wider page layouts of the Black Label, you really get to see Sienkiewicz and Dennis Cohen really use space very, very well, which is, I think, been the biggest thing for these Black Label books is the way that the different page size gives the artist the way to play with spacing in different page layouts.
All right.
Okay. So I'm recapping Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen #5, which I don't know how I'm going to do, but we're just going to go. This issue...
It's never an easy book to recap.
What?
It's not an easy book to recap.
It's not. But I'm going to try to. I have been thoroughly... I've been loving this series. Jimmy Olsen #5 opens with a date between Bruce Wayne and a social media influencer, and then that stops happening. Batman / Bruce is, like everyone in this series, a joke. I don't read a whole lot of Batman, but I don't think he's necessarily in character. Although I don't think you should be going into this series expecting that. Then Superman takes Timmy Olsen to meet Batman, and Batman slaps his camera out of his hand. And then so that happened. And then there's a guy who makes large things. He's giving a large calendar for Calendar Man, but he refused to, and so his family was murdered. And Jimmy Olsen is doing his Timmy Olsen thing. He's been doing for at least 1 or 2 issues now, where he's like a parody of Jake Paul for some reason, which should not be as funny as it is. And he cuts off this guy's story to see how many Jokers he can get into a froyo place before Batman notices, and then he runs into Batman. And then that's over, and Bruce Wayne's in the bathroom, and he overhears his employees talking about how he's been paid to laugh at his jokes, and so he confronts Alfred, who admits to it. So he docks Alfred's pay and then puts a fake arrow on his head. Then that's over, and we go to Jimmy Olsen's funeral, which chronologically would have taken place at least 3 issues ago. That's just because how the story works, and it's great. And I think this is Metamorpho, who is trying to pawn his television, and Clark hears a zerping noise, and then Jimmy's grave explodes, and his decoy body's flesh falls on everybody, and it's kind of gross. And Dr. Mantell is back. He's alive after he died in issue 2, I think. And there's a great moment where Lois is like, "How good is?" Oh, I already know all about this, because he does know all about it because he's been working with Jimmy, I guess, depending on the chronology. And then we do one of the flashbacks that happens in every issue, in which case, in this moment, one of Jimmy's ancestors, Mr. Kimberly Jimington Olsen, has fallen madly in love with one of Lex Luthor's, his aunt, I think. I don't remember, relative in some way. And they have their little Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers thing until Kimberly gets shot in the knee, and they go their separate ways. But apparently, I don't remember her name, Hannah Luthor, has a redhead child, and Lex Luthor, before he was bald, was a redhead. So I have to assume we're going there with this. We're gonna make Lex Luthor maybe related to Jimmy Olsen. Is that what this is? I don't know, but now that's over. And Jimmy Olsen runs into Janie Olsen, his quote gothy sister. I say run into, but he dresses as a doomsayer with the rainbow afro, but it doesn't matter. He runs into his sister and he says, "Hey sister, I'm alive and I'm not dead. And Lex Luthor's trying to kill me." And then they find a present from Batman which has Star in it, and he shoots blood all over him, like what happened in the first issue. And then it ends. I love this book. It's amazing.
I didn't read this issue, but as you were recapping, when you talked about his body exploding at the funeral, the decoy body, literally I was like, oh shit, where has Dexter been this whole time? And he showed back up.
Yeah, he does. This book is so good. I love it.
Which is weird because Dexter was not at the beginning of this book. He was in the Leviathan Strikes one shot.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So
yeah,
you
you're
have
right.
to have read that to get this joke. I don't love this issue because it's doing the thing again that I don't like, where Fraction gets too crazy off of his leash and he's doing too many stories at once. The book works best when he focuses on 3. When you try to do 5 and 6, it loses ground and then it gets very confusing and hard to follow.
Yes, but I'm fine with that. I think that taking it as it is and kind of piecing together what can be pieced together is entertaining in itself. And Fraction's writing is always top notch. I think he's one of the best writers in comics today. I love Fraction.
I like Fraction, but I think there are times when he gets where he likes himself a little bit too much, where he goes crazy, and he needs to be restrained. This is one of those moments, and he has 12 issues to play with here. He doesn't have to overstuff every single issue.
No, he doesn't, but he does anyway, and I like that.
Which is why I'm saying, like, he doesn't need to do that. But I still think it was fine. It's not bad, but it there's like, get a scale and you kind of just watch him teeter when you read a Fraction book. Especially when he's playing around in a toy box he's never played around with before, with DC stuff. But let's head into X-Men Corner.
Oh yeah, good.
X-Men Corner, Excalibur number 2. Yep. Team Howard and Marcus Toe. So we open with flashbacks to, I don't know, like England and shit. And it states that Apocalypse was the first, quote, of his kind. And then the next caption is, there's a misconception that Apocalypse is a common ancestor of mutants, but different mutants popped up separately around the world. But mostly a misconception because he's not remotely the first mutant. There are multiple mutants way before him. Apocalypse is 5,000 years old, going back to ancient Egypt. Selene goes back 17,000 years to the Hyborian Age alongside Conan and Kulan Gath. So Apocalypse, not the first mutant. Namor, not the first mutant. Neither of them have any true tie. Well, Namor symbolically, publishing wise. But that's my little nerdy nitpick. And so the team here is taking Rogue's flowery body to the like old Excalibur lighthouse base, and I'm not really certain why. Because somehow they'll be able to figure her deal out, and they get attacked by Selkies from. They say Scottish, but I think it's I always thought it was an Irish thing, but I'm sure it's both.
Selkies?
I thought that was cool to see Selkies in Excalibur, which they probably also have done before. And they were being ferried by Kitty, and then they get there, and Kitty's like, "Yeah, I gotta go, do some things," and we'll get to that in a bit. And Captain Britain, Betsy, she can interact and see these druids, but everyone else can't see them; they're invisible to them. And they like set down Rogue, and it's like, oh, the lighthouse wasn't destroyed; it like springs up out of the ground, and that reminded me of like some like almost like a Legend of Zelda or like RPG type thing, where it's like, set the block right there, and the castle will reveal itself. And so comatose, flowery Rogue is now intertwined at the top of this lighthouse. Jubilee starts having nightmares about Apocalypse realizing that Shogo is a human, so she bails to go grab Shogo, while Betsy has dreams about a like fire dog thingy, which does not get further context in this issue. Jubes quickly shows back up with Shogo, who I think it's a funny panel of Shogo chewing on Betsy's purple hair because he likes purple. And the enemy wizards show up, and it turns out that these enemy wizards they used to be in this like group led by Apocalypse, but they're humans. And at some point he was like, yeah, I don't really need you guys, so he just abandoned them. And so they have issues with mutants and with the whole Captain Britain concept, because it's pretty interesting where it's like all these non-mutant wizards are like, hey, Captain Britain is a mutant and we don't fuck with that. And then Apocalypse shows up and they resolve the things, and then they go through a portal, and Shogo might be a dragon or something. I enjoyed this. It really does feel like a very magic-based book. I'm not really sure if I think it feels like Excalibur, as far as like the Claremont Ellen Davis type of Excalibur. Lots of magic lore, a little bit of like British lore. I think this is fun. It's not in my top ranked books, but it's among the top. I'd say it's a thumbs up for me. Art's great.
I didn't read this issue. I was going to, but I hadn't read the first one, so I sat down to read the first one, and I didn't care. I don't think it's very interesting. But I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, actually, I said it with the first issue, but this is way more a Captain Britain book than an Excalibur book. And obviously, Captain Britain was, at times one of the central characters of Excalibur. But this is like digging like deeper into like Marvel UK lore than Claremont like Excalibur. Well, it's all Claremont, but that type of stuff.
Is it very relevant to like the Krakoa stuff? Because it seems almost completely unrelated.
I'd say this might be the least connected series. I mean, Fallen Angels isn't that closely connected either. But
they plant like there's mentions of taking the Krakoan flowers and planting them out where the lighthouse is, so they have access to that. But they're not a whole lot. It's really kind of these characters going off to do this mission. I think this issue was fine. I'm waiting for the premise of the book and the action to kick in, as we've just kind of been scene setting the last two issues. I think this gets one more from me before I drop it. It's in that teetering territory for me.
To answer both, I know I literally just said this, but I was saying it pulls from these elements. I would say this is not as much an X-Men book; it's a Captain Britain book, and the entire, at least for this arc, the entire motivation and the pull of the story is all around Betsy and Brian. And in fact, at some point we'll have to get back to Jamie Braddock. He wasn't referenced remotely in this issue. But yeah, there's not really much to do with the overall lore of Krakoa, besides like weird bullshit magic lore, which I think Hickman does have an interest in that. But I like it. I'm going to continue reading this one for sure. I'm not dropping this yet. Whereas some of the other books I'm already kind of iffy. Yeah. But other one,
I think everything's going to get. I think I'm going to read everything through the issue 2, and then I'm going to make my decisions.
That's basically what I'm doing. Well, except for Excalibur, apparently. Real quick, before we hop into Marauders. Actually, you know what? Alskater, go ahead. It's relevant to this one.
Okay, Marauders. I'm trying to get this all done before 2 hours.
Yeah, go.
So I get. So Jerry Duggan, Mateo Lally, Emma Frost is meeting with first the Stepford Cuckoos in Virginia, or like I guess the plane where telepaths talk to each other. And she's planning there, and then she goes to meet with Sebastian Shaw, talking about why the Hellfire ships keep getting destroyed and taken over, and Emma informing him that, hey, the Marauders are out there, and we're going to use them because your ships suck, and they keep getting overtaken by people. We then cut to our team as they're taking out a boat captained by Batroc the Leaper, who, by the way, for Dan, was just in Black Cat. So a lot of Batroc love this month from Marvel, I guess. As he's taken over one of the Hellfire ships that has medical aid and supplies to an unnamed West African nation. It's not specifically named, though they do say West African in this issue. They're able to do that. Once again, really, really cool fight scene with Kate Pryde, because she's fully Kate now. We're not calling her Kitty anymore, so I'll abide by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that. Plus, the after the way I've seen her like take out these dudes, it's pretty brutal. So,
yeah, no, she's no 15-year-old girl.
No, definitely not. And they eventually then they go to like Japan to meet up with Bishop, who I guess is like joins the team now. What?
They're in Taiwan.
Whatever. I can't remember where they're going. The first issue that Bishop was in Japan, or maybe that would have been X-Force. I can't remember anymore. All right, but Taekwon. They meet up with Bishop. He just like joins the team, and Emma kind of like reveals to them on their way home that they got a big sexy new ship of full funding, and Kate Pryde's now going to be the Red Queen on the council, as they all haven't. So it's Shaw, Emma, and then Kate Pryde, and then they haven't revealed their bishops yet, which I'm assuming Shadowcats is going to be Bishop. So you're going to have Bishop as a bishop.
Actually, the white bishop, Emma's bishop, is revealed on the text page as Christian Frost, her brother, who apparently appeared in Cena Grace's Iceman run, which oddly connects because obviously Iceman is in Marauders. Weird Iceman connections, because we also referenced how the other version of Pyro slept with Iceman.
I do want to also state this issue opened up with a full like text document PDF, and I'm already sick of this.
Yeah,
that needs to stop.
Yeah, that was too much.
I'm skipping all the text and data pages. I'm done with those right now.
It is a comic book. You can convey it in a panel layout in a sequential art form.
I think they're cool. I think that was too much. I don't think it's done as well as what Hickman does it, because it's his thing.
I mean, I think he might be doing them.
Is he? I don't think he is.
It's hard to say.
What do you think about
doing all of them?
What do you think about Kate's new tattoos?
It's whatever. It would be interesting. The thing is, especially with
better than Pyro's.
Yeah,
Pyro's is hilarious though. He gets a huge, all black skull face tat. Pretty epic.
It's fucking wild.
But actually, when you think about the tattoos, it actually made me think about it, because tattoos in this status quo are impermanent in the sense that anyone can die at any moment.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
But that goes to the previous question. I guess what happens when Bishop comes back? In fact, but the complication is that at some point, whenever some writer decided to use Bishop, like 2 years ago, they brought him back for like a few issues without his tattoo, and X-Men fans went insane. Because of course Bishop's tattoo is a major part of his backstory, and it's kind of awkward in this issue where they're in the tattoo parlor, and Iceman's like, "Yeah, I don't know how it would work with my ice form," and Storm is like, "Yeah, that's just not my thing," and Bishop's like, "I already have one," and it's like, it was forced onto me. But it's a slightly awkward moment, but I think it's played in an interesting way.
Yeah.
But yeah, those kitty tattoos, they'll disappear in 10 years when she
Of course
dies.
they will.
Dude, that's not her name, man.
For now, though, I think they're cool, and I think her new costume is awesome. She looks so cool.
Yeah, she's got a full out pirate outfit, and it's great.
I love it.
I mean, it's literally just a red captain's coat over her X-Men outfit.
So
I mean, yes, but it looks awesome.
So Bishop straight up references Charles's death from X-Force, but like,
Yes.
put the footnote there. Like, I don't.
No, if you should be reading all the books.
Well, that's what they want, but
the way they're collecting all these, Dawn of X is solicited for like 5 trades, and it's all like the number 1s, the number 2s, the number 3s.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
It's
so stupid.
ridiculous.
They're doing both. They're doing both.
Are they?
Yeah. But the way you enforce that and make everyone read everything is a footnote. That's why footnotes exist.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't even realize it until you said it. There's no footnote. That seems counterproductive.
That also, I really just have nitpicks because Mike covered everything pretty much. Batrock is like slightly off model here, but I can't really pin it down.
Yeah, he's not in his classic comic.
But I think he's written pretty well. He's pretty fun. And then my other thing is that Matteo Loli and the colorist, who I don't have the issue up, so off the top of my head, I'm not certain. But the way Emma's diamond form is portrayed, probably one of the coolest ways I've seen it done. Where you see lots of light reflections, and especially there's a counter shot where you're seeing from her perspective Shaw holding her up against the wall, and you see reflections from the diamonds on Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm sure they've done that, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And also the coloring on the telepathy scene with her and the cuckoos, really interestingly done. And also while Shaw lashes out at her, she makes a pretty clever joke about secondary mutations, of course, while she's in diamond form. And I thought that was some pretty clever writing.
This Marauders might be my favorite Dawn of X book.
It's the best.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's easily the best.
Yeah, I think it's number 1 for me. Like, a small part in my brain is like, just like, it's like, you should rank X-Men first, but like, I don't think it is at all.
I agree.
No, it's not.
Currently,
it's Marauders and X-Men.
Yeah. Personally, I have New Mutants over X-Men. But
we haven't got the signature.
On that note, next week is the first one with 3 X-Men books: New Mutants, X-Force, and Fallen Angels, and 2 of those are the 2 at the bottom of my list. So depending on how much we're reading, will be interesting. It's an endurance test. So we will see which of us will stick.
Fallen Angels might be going bye-bye already. I'm just saying.
You're not even. Yeah. You're not attempting issue 2.
It's a big week next week too. I don't think in terms of volume, if I don't get to it, I don't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And next week we're bringing back the Hall segment. I think maybe to be determined.
We should. I don't think it's going to be giant enough to just chop into books. But quickly around before we get into retro book next week. Pick of the weeks around from left box clockwise. So starting with Vince, ending with me.
Dial H. By far.
Batman.
Hulk, I guess. It's gotta be either Hulk or Marauders. So probably Hulk.
I'm gonna stick with Vince. I gotta go Dial H.
So by numbers, Dial H, collective pick of the week as well. Now, So here, the thing with our retro books, we've been a little looser with those, and a little bit more voting. and especially since Matt may or may not be here next week, so
I
we'll
think
just show you
Matt has a choice, and he can either bestow greatness onto us or curse us, depending on how it's going to go.
I will show the options, and we probably will not reveal which one is picked right now. But that's just more tease for you guys. So let's see if I can do this correctly.
No, you should have to pick it now.
I know. Okay. So. Okay. Do you guys see on your screen?
Oh shit.
Ooh, okay.
Oh shit, it's Indies.
Oh god, Dark Guard. What the fuck?
We have Dark Guard number 1, and
Why do we
this
let Vince choose these?
This is the and also all of these are from
What monstrosity is that?
these are from October 1993 from Marvel. So not a great period. So we've got
October
Dark Guard
'93. All right.
Dark Guard 1 is essentially the Marvel UK team book. So we see Death's Head 2 here and other characters that I can't even name off the top of my head. But creative team Dan Abnett and Carlos Pacheco.
Oh, I'm sold.
And another option, Fantastic Four number 381 by Tom DeFalco and Paul Ryan. And one of the characters dies in this issue. I won't spoil which. And our third option
Oh my god.
is X-Men 2099 number 1 with art by Ron Lynn. So,
Okay.
Art by Ron.
Real murderer's row of hitters you got there this week to choose for us, Matt.
Yeah, I was about to say, you know what? I had so much fun tonight. I'd love to come back next week. And then Vince goes, hold up. We're going to read some Marvel from '93. Now, I'm not so sure.
but that's the fun. All right, so those are our three options, especially depending on how many people. We're going to hold a vote probably offline, and it'll be a surprise next week at the top of the show.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone. It was a long show. We pulled through, and all of our viewers did too.
Oh, thanks for watching. Whoever, if there's any, is there any viewers?
And I almost clicked the wrong button again.
God